What are the best sweeteners on a low-carb or keto diet? I'm Dr. Brett Scher, the medical director at dietdoctor.com. And this is a question we get a lot. I can understand you're probably wondering about this if you're watching this video. What are the sweeteners I can use that aren't going to affect my glucose and my insulin, that aren't going to make me hungry, that aren't going to derail my weight loss? Well, there are a number that we can consider. But first, before we get into the specifics, I want to talk about why do you need sweeteners. And we actually have a good guide that was recently updated by Franziska Spritzler at dietdoctor.com. But why do you need sweeteners? Because one of the benefits of low carb and keto diets is that we get rid of so much of the sweet foods, the refined sugars that can hit the reward center in our brain, that can stimulate hunger, and some say even trigger addiction. So we try and get rid of those to eat more natural foods. So one of the concerns about adding sweeteners is that it may keep that taste, that sweet cravings around and not let us completely get past it, and may stimulate more cravings. It doesn't happen to everybody, right? But for some people that does. So I think that anybody's goal when they're starting a low carb or keto diet or have been in a low carb or keto diet for a while is to try and completely get off sweeteners, right? That's the ultimate goal. Now, with the caveat, of course, being some people, if they get off it, do they crave it? They just can't get rid of that cravings. And that's a real thing that can derail a lot of people. So for those people, adding sweetener back in may mean the difference of staying on plan or going off plan on a regular basis. So if that's the case, then absolutely sweeteners play an important role. So that's when we want to find the right sweetener. And in the right situation, right? Like some people need a sweetener in their coffee, or some people need sweeteners for their baked goods that they can't live without. Again, if you can wean off that, probably a good idea. If not, well, let's talk about some sweeteners, right? And you can get all the details at the guide at our website. But the top three that most people in low carbs diets use, the ones we use most in our recipes, are stevia, erythritol, and monk fruit. Now, all three of those in studies have been shown to have minimal to no effect on glucose and insulin. And that's important because if one of the main benefits of a low carb or keto diet is reducing insulin levels, improving glucose levels, you don't want to derail that with sweeteners. So these three, stevia, erythritol, and monk fruit, have been shown to not have any significant effects. Now, there can be some outliers who do have an effect. So if you have an ability to check your blood sugar and you're adding some of these sweeteners, check your blood sugar. Know for sure if it affects you or not. But for most people, the vast majority of people, it doesn't. Some of the good and bads, stevia tends to have a bit of an aftertaste. Not everybody likes it because of that. It also can be mixed with carbohydrates. It can come in sort of a mixed package with carbohydrates. So you have to be careful of that. And so you want to find sort of like a pure stevia, usually a drop. And what Franziska mentions is it's challenging to cook with, or it can be challenging to cook with. You know, I don't really know because I don't cook with stevia, but I'll take her word for it. But the most important thing is it can be mixed with dextrose in some of the packages. So you want to be careful about that. Okay. And then her next one she talks about is erythritol, which is great. You see that in a lot of the ice creams and a lot of the baked goods. It's a sugar alcohol. Like any sugar alcohol, too much of it can give you GI upset and loose stools. But people tend to like the taste pretty well, and it's easier to cook with. The main thing is just the GI upset if you have too much of it. And then monk fruit. Monk fruit can be expensive, but a little bit goes a long way. And frequently it's actually mixed with stevia to sort of cut the taste a little bit of stevia, and can be mixed with erythritol as well. Aside from the expense, it's pretty well tolerated. It can also be mixed in different products, so really look for a more pure product. And then as we go beyond those big three, though, something to be careful of are maltitol, because that one can increase blood sugar and insulin. Has been shown to do that in studies, so definitely be careful of that one. And it's also used as a laxative. The new kid on the block is allulose. And it's pretty hard to find, and it's pretty expensive, but hopefully we'll get more of this because it's in the small amounts, it's very well tolerated. It does not affect blood sugar or insulin. At larger amounts can definitely cause GI trouble. So be careful about that. But right now it's pretty expensive and hard to find. And there's a whole list on the guide on our website. So definitely go check that out. But I think if you're looking for sweeteners, first, understand why you want the sweetener. Second, make sure it's not stimulating any triggers or cravings. And then third, consider the big three: stevia, erythritol, monk fruit, with the pros and cons that we discussed. Maybe allulose if you can find it in small amounts. But sticking to real foods, getting your sweet boost, you could say, from strawberries, raspberries, maybe even a tiny little bit of sweet potato. Ask yourself if that's better than these sweeteners. Of course, monitoring your blood sugar. You know, some people, sweet potato is going to send you through the roof. Some people it's not. So knowing what works for you, both positive and negative. So anyway, that's an introduction to sweeteners. Hopefully that helps. Definitely check out the guide at dietdoctor.com, and we'll link to it down below. Thanks a lot. Take care, everybody.